Hello, and welcome to episode number 36 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all things Nintendo. I am Kevin, and with me this week is Harrison
Hey, welcome back.
and Momo.
It's good to be back, boys and girls. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, sir. I know you got a hectic schedule, so we're glad anytime we can get more voices, more opinions on the show. So, what's everybody been up to this week with Nintendo?
Well, I played some F-Zero 99.
Sweet. I actually haven't gotten around to that yet. It's how is it?
I mean, for me, it's my favorite version of all of the, I guess, 4 now Battle Royale games. I think it makes the most sense. I think it seems like they're going to be adding an update soon where they're adding a timer to it as well. I guess that will eliminate even more people quicker. And I haven't won. I've gotten into the top 10. I think it's a good balance of actual skill and luck and RNG, and I'm looking forward to them adding more courses and expanding on it. But I'm also interested too in seeing how long it stays up, because I think even Tetris 99 is offline at this point. So they all get taken down at some point.
That's cool. Well, the biggest question I have for you, Harrison, is how's your road rage going, mate, in that game?
I mean, it's going all right. I mean, I played Tetris 99 a lot, and I never won. And I'm going in with very low expectations with this. I mean, it's all right. Well, it's not as addicting as some people are. For me, as some people are saying, and maybe that's just where I am with gaming at this moment.
Well, with what you said about how they all go away eventually, I wonder if any of them will ever come back, because I feel like I feel like Nintendo is very much like Disney in that they had that like Disney Vault where they would lock movies away and only like bring them out every now and again so that they still seemed like an event every time they happened. And I feel like Nintendo has sort of the same strategy for things, which is probably why we don't have Wind Waker and Twilight Princess yet on the Switch. They like to lock things away, and then when they're ready to make it an event, they take it out. So they could bring back any of the other ones.
I've been seeing a lot of people stealing our F-Zero take on Facebook and Reddit and everything. Like I've been seeing a lot of people saying like, "Oh, I think this is Nintendo testing the water," or whatever verbiage they use it. And yeah, I think the same thing. But anyone that's like upset with what content we have right now, we just got to be patient at this point.
Yeah, you got to support what they give you if you want more of it.
Yeah. You got Kevin. You had some. You did your Switch backlog and I did mine as well. So
so I had a lot of small talk things I wanted to bring up. So for what I've been up to this week is, like you said, first I finished Kirby Star Allies, because as I talked about in the previous podcast, I finished Grandia 2. So had to find a game. I've had Kirby Star Allies on my Switch since it dropped. So I was like, I am finally going to tackle this game. It only took me the week to finish it. It's not a very long game. Unless you're a completionist, then it takes a little longer, but I can't imagine much longer. I didn't care to 100% it. It was good, but I need to 100% this good. But anyway, when I played that game, I thought to myself, my goal as of right now is to be backlog free by the time the next Nintendo system drops, the Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be. And in order to do that, I already finished Kirby Star Allies. I started next. I've had Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 since that dropped in 2017. That was a year one Switch title. and I've like never played. I think I got it to have something besides Breath of the Wild to play, and then I just never played it. So I'm playing that now and actually enjoying it. I'm gonna have to finish. I have a Doom collection, so Doom 2, Doom 3, Doom 64,
Ooh.
Doom 2016. I've got Turok 2, which I bought because I loved it in the Nintendo 64 days, but I never finished it. Dragon Quest 3, Golf Story, Yoshi's Woolly World, which is actually a Wii U game I never finished, and Tears of the Kingdom, which is the big one. So I have that plus Mario RPG, Mario Wonder, Luigi's Mansion 2, and maybe Princess Peach Superstar. I'm going to wait to see the reviews on that one. But so those are all coming out before the Switch too, as far as we know.
Well, yeah. Princess Peach, assuming that's assuming it does come out. It's not like a launch title or something. I'm saying, but yeah, exactly.
So all of those games, my goal is to finish all of them basically by, if the rumors are true, Christmas of next year. And then I can go into the new system with no baggage, nothing hanging over my head, nothing I didn't finish.
Like,
well,
go ahead, Momo.
I was going to say, there's a slight hole in that logic there, is that from now to next Christmas, who knows what Nintendo's going to throw at you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to take that into consideration with the Mario RPG and Mario Wonder being on the list, Luigi's Mansion 2. I don't think there's much beyond that I'm going to buy. Although I did discover a new game today. But it's that was the other thing I wanted to talk about was it is available on Switch. I'm playing it on PlayStation because it's free with the PlayStation Plus membership. So it was free for me. If you want it on Switch, it's $20, $19.99. It's called Carto. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I'll tell you.
It's a really cool, like, chill type of game, like almost Animal Crossing or like Stardew Valley. Like, so far I'm pretty deep into the game and there's no combat. There's like no way to die. It's like a straight up puzzle game. But
okay,
you've got these. You start off on like an island and your map is in a grid, right? And you find other pages which go in the grid, and you sort of build the island by like positioning the different pieces of the island on the grid. And as you build the island, the different people who live on the island show up and they'll tell you like, my house is supposed to be west of here. So you rearrange it a little bit and you try to get the island the way it's supposed to be. Or they'll say things like, the boat is at the north dock. So you're like, okay, now I know this dock needs to be at the north, things like that. So it's really cool. It's separated into chapters. I made it to the third chapter. Doesn't seem like it's that long of a game, which is probably why it's $20, but it's a lot of fun to just rearrange this island and talk to the people living on it. It's called Carto. If you missed that, Carto.
Sounds like a really, like you said, just like a very chilled, at your own pace type of game, you know?
Yeah. It also reminds me a lot of Dark Cloud. I don't know if anyone played that back in the day, but that involved talking to the people who lived in the town and arranging it the way it was supposed to be.
Well, Kevin, hearing you talk about your backlog makes me feel just real bad.
Why is that?
It's because like the end of 2022, like I legit sat down and I wrote out all the games, whether it was Xbox, Switch, like Steam, all the games that I had or that I was planning to buy in the next year, and I wrote it all out, and I was like, 2023, I'm going to take accountability. And I'll tell you, like, my backlog is longer now than it was when I started that. Because I just can't help myself. Like, I have such respect for people that like that I'll be like, hey, like, did you see this new game? And they're like, I have a game. Like, I'm playing a game right now.
Well, let me tell you this. If it makes you feel any better, that list is only the games that are currently installed on my Switch that I haven't finished yet. I have a different note on my phone that I called my bucket list games. and it's just a huge list of games that are already out and exist that I want to finish someday that I haven't I haven't gotten them yet. Like
So yeah,
things like I want to finish every Dragon Quest game
yeah,
in the mainline series, and I'm only up to 3 at this point.
yeah,
Oof.
yeah, exactly. I feel the same way with like I'm playing Yakuza 0. Like I told you that a lot, and they release a new Yakuza game like every 6 months, and I'm like I'm never gonna catch up, you know. So like
Yeah.
so just for Switch, so I wanted to do, and by the way, Switch is gonna be backwards compatible, so like when Kevin talks
We
about
hope.
like having a clean slate when the new Switch comes out, it's gonna be same. I mean,
Well,
but
that's just a personal note for me because I did the same thing for the Wii U, but because the Wii U, was
was not.
not as successful, we'll say. I only had to finish like 3 or 4 games before I got deep into my Switch.
So
Did you?
go ahead.
I was gonna say, just side note quickly before, because you said about the Wii U. Sorry, Harrison. I was gonna say, do you remember a game on the Wii U that launched with it, the Ubisoft one, the Zombie U?
Yeah,
Did you ever play that?
absolutely.
I actually surprised that game with the mechanics of the tablet was so good. You know what I mean? It's like the mechanics they employed to use the tablet in that game, where when you look at the inventory on the screen, you see like a third person view of yourself, but you can't do anything. So you can see around you. So, the tablet itself is in the inventory. So that's one of the things I felt the Wii U really capitalized on
Oh yeah,
with
I'm a
the
total
Nintendo games.
Nintendo fanboy in that I still liked the Wii U. I don't complain about it like some do. It's I just wish they found more ways to use the gimmick it was going with, because it seemed like the default was just, well, we'll put the map on that screen. And that was helpful. But like you said, with Zombie U, and I think the Arkham games did some different things with
Yeah.
it. There were other ways to use that screen, and not a lot of games tried.
Oh, sorry, I know. It was because when you said the Wii U, it just popped into my head literally just then. I'm like, oh my god, that game was so good. How it utilized the tablet as one, and that's should have been like you said. I wish more people use the tablet, like even if it's something gimmicky like inventory management and stuff like that. But at least it feels the immersion when you play the game using the tablet like that. But yeah,
Well, maybe the Switch 2 will allow you to play on your television while using the actual Switch screen too, and you'll have dual screens that way. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and the camera as well. So yeah.
That camera we keep talking about.
So real quick, because I made the list because you made yours. I was inspired. So I want
Okay.
to on the Switch hardware. I want to finish Pokemon Quest because I'm right at the very end. I never finished it. I'm going to start to departmentalize Tears of the Kingdom, because like as far as shrines go, I'm like halfway there, and then I just stepped away from it. So perhaps I'll just go back in and be like, okay, I'll just focus on doing 5 shrines, 10 shrines. I think I'm gonna play Luigi's Mansion during the Halloween season. Uh,
Oh yeah, that wasn't on my list because I finished it before, but there's
I
on
I
top
never
of what
have.
I listed, yeah, on top of what I listed, there's also going to be like games I've already beaten that I throw in
Yeah.
there. Like I'm also playing Final Fantasy 9 right now for like the 50th time.
Yeah, and I never have. For example, like I'm going to continue forever making my base on my base on Dragon Quest Builders, multiplayer for Vampire Survivors, WrestleQuest, which is that RPG I just picked up. I played a couple of demos on Switch this week, and then I downloaded the demos of Pikmin 4, Sea of Stars, Dragon Quest Monsters. Those are all games I would like to play, but in reality, probably don't have time.
I
Uh,
want to play Sea of Stars as well. That's another one that I have on my
Mm.
PlayStation because it's on PlayStation Network right now.
oh,
I mean PlayStation Plus.
then I would say play it on there. It looks awesome. It really does look awesome. Um, like I want to finish the SteamWorld games that are on Switch. So that would be SteamWorld Heist and SteamWorld Hand of Gilgamesh. I want to finish Blasphemous so I can play Blasphemous 2 and Lego DC Supervillains. I want to play at least one more Lego game on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And Panzer Dragoon. Have you ever played Panzer
Did you ever
Dragoon?
play Lego City?
So Lego City Undercover is my all-time favorite. It's the one, like, if someone's like, "Oh, you're like Lego games, like little kiddie games," I'm like, play Lego City Undercover because that's really that's the one they need to make a sequel to, or
Yeah, I feel the same way.
or maybe not a sequel, but perhaps just the same environment.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you play a bad guy. I mean, like, I don't know, like it could be a lot of things. Momo, did you play Lego City Undercover?
I did. When it first was that the one on the Wii
Yep.
U, yeah?
Yeah, it started as a Wii U exclusive,
voice-
but it's on everything now.
The voice acting was so good
Mm-hmm.
in
Like,
that game.
very few
And
games do I actually laugh out loud at the jokes, and that was one of them.
Yeah, and I feel that's when Lego, that whole open world type thing, that's when it started hitting their stride. And after that game, they started using a lot more. Like one of my favorite Legos is the Lego Star Wars, like the complete saga.
Mm-hmm.
Is such a. I feel it takes, like, from that Lego City Underground really helped propelled that style of gameplay they were looking for, like that kind of open world-ish, go anywhere and stuff like that. And there's so much to do, so many hidden little secrets and stuff and collectibles. It's really a person that wants to 100% a game like that, nightmare. But it was such a breath of fresh air. The mechanics were good, the concept was good, but I feel the thing that makes me remember the game a lot is the voice acting. I think the voice acting and like the punch lines and stuff like that was probably the most memorable thing about the game that I loved, and I still remember today. It's really good.
Yeah, so
Harrison, so you mentioned that you were going to be playing Luigi's Mansion this Halloween, which is something I wanted to do too. I think it's like a perfect little Nintendo tradition there. That made me think. I was talking to Sean about this. It's weird that the release date for Luigi's Mansion 2 is summer. So I'm wondering if that's going to be more of like the September end of summer, because it's a no-brainer to release that around Halloween.
Yeah, unless Nintendo has something planned,
like the original Luigi's Mansion coming out or
planned
something.
around the Halloween going into the holiday season,
or a new system. Yeah,
if we want to speculate on what that could be. But there's been
I should keep a list in our Google Doc of predictions that we make.
I think there's been a lot of speculations on that game, though, whether it be this podcast or whether it be just in like the Twitter space, of just the timeline, why it's this 3DS game, and and I think a future segment that I would like to do is like, what would be like your I don't know what to call it yet, but like what would be a game that Nintendo would release that would be like the ultimate release for you? For example, like I'm sure Mario RPG would be on that list.
That was on the list, yeah.
Like that would be on the list. And for me, like, I'll just give my first example would be like, if I could get an Unreal Engine Link Between Worlds, like if I could get a whole remake of that game on a new hardware, something like that. So I totally forgot where I was going with this.
Yeah, that's something I'll have to think of for the future, because you're right, Mario RPG would be my answer. And then like my next answer would be, I'm not even kidding, I've been saying for the longest time I want them to re-release Thousand Year Door, because the used copies are like $120, and they did that too. So I'm like, well, you're picking all my dream projects here, Nintendo. Thank you.
Yeah, that's another one too. Why Thousand Year Door now? Like I get that Nintendo sometimes listens to their audience, but like why have Mario RPG not even come out and then you announce this game?
Yeah, it is weird to
well,
announce 2 RPG Mario remakes.
And I'm
Well, I was going to say, clearly they've been listening to Kevin.
yeah.
Don't you understand? They've been listening the whole time.
They've been listening to this podcast. Well, that's great. And I'll steal this one from Arlo. Like he mentioned that the Legends Arceus game came out, and the same month they announced Generation 9. So it was like you couldn't even process it. Like you couldn't even process this new game before they were like, oh yeah, and then we're also releasing a bunch of new Pokemon as well in like 10 months. So I think it's a bit suspicious, some of the timing on these games. And perhaps that just means that there is a new system coming out and they're just trying to get things out in time.
It's also kind of funny, speaking of what they're announcing, that I also saw in an Arlo video that he went to their trade show. I can't remember which one it was, what it was called, but that he mentioned that there was 0 Metroid stuff available at the show. And it's like, they literally just like a few weeks ago made an official announcement. Metroid Prime 4 is still being worked on. And then it's like, they went back into the dark again on it. Like, but we're not going to talk about it at all. We're not going to put Metroid Prime 2 or 3 out yet. We're back into the dark.
I mean, one of your news items today is exactly that. Is Nintendo IP that was announced 2 years ago, probably worked on for longer than that, and that's it. So I mean, well, I'm foreshadowing, so I'll let you go on.
Oh yeah, we'll get into the news here. So the first thing, these are
sure. 1 second. Do you guys want to know what I've been doing this week, Nintendo?
I thought you said. I know you got the hurt hand.
Yeah.
No, hands good. Hands good. I'm all good now. But what I've been doing this week with Nintendo is something not as much playing. Is that my nephew has been coming up to me and asking me to watch him play the original Mario 1, Mario 2. He's obsessed with the original Mario.
Oh, the NES ones?
And he's like, yeah. So on the Switch, yeah. He's been playing, and he asked for Christmas he wants a Game Boy. I said to him, mate, the one in your hand, the Switch now, can do it for you,
mate. Won't be able to see the screen. But, I'd love to see a kid these days struggle with that original.
He's obsessed with
the
and he knows all the warp pipes. Like level 2, get on top. Like go to level world 4. Like just watching him play. Just watching a kid these days, especially nowadays. Like, I mean, obviously they have the internet and stuff to help them, but his curiosity to watch him work out how to play this game, the little secrets and discovering all that. And him asking. It wasn't he was asking for advice. It's more like, hey, Uncle Momo, just sit and watch me play this. Watch, just basically saying, look how cool I am at this. I'm like, mate, I played that very long ago, mate, when you. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been doing that's pretty much my week in Nintendo.
It's great to hear the new generation, those games still hold up.
Well, I said to him play Mario 2 because Mario 2 is one of those the weird almost like Zelda 2, like a weird, you know what I mean, like a take on it. And he just watched him play it, just like he's like, I think he really. I said to him, my favorite is Mario 3, from my age, or was it Yoshi's World, or anyway, Mario 3 is one of the ones that I've really enjoyed playing as a kid. But now he's obsessed with the original Mario.
Cool.
It's just cool to watch.
No, yeah, I love hearing that people still get interested in those games because I wonder if there's ever going to be a point where kids are like, I don't even want to look at these graphics,
And What else? What else is my weekend? Well, this is non-Nintendo, but it is today's. I didn't tell you before we started, but today is a good day because today is actually my 10-year wedding anniversary.
Woo!
And yeah, so I just even though I'm home today and my wife's at work, but we're going away. I haven't told you we're going next week. I'm going back to Indonesia with my wife to see family.
Nice.
So yeah, so today's the wedding anniversary. So I know my wife's not listening, but she every time she listens to me on a podcast, she laughs at me when she hears my voice. So if I do make her listen to this episode, happy anniversary, I love you, yada yada. Anyway, that's my week in Nintendo, guys. That's my week in Nintendo for what I've been doing.
What is 10 years? Is 10 years like silver? Or
China? No, not China. To be honest, I'm not.
It might
sure,
be.
mate.
It might be different. It might be different in Australia.
It's Nintendo games. That's the gift you give for 10 years.
For
she's a Pokemon fanatic. So
wait, hold on.
So it
hold
works.
on. I totally forgot. So I was relieved that this week we had a little bit easier on the whole spotlight and news section. And Momo, like, I was waiting for you to show up last week because last week we did.
I don't know, Zelda.
Well, not Zelda. OOT. I mean, we did
Yeah,
your game
The
last
Zelda.
week.
Yeah.
So
I just I miss when I originally I was going to be off and my schedule changed because I work at an airport and it's very hard to sometimes when I have days off done in the book they can change very quickly. They can ask me to come, request me to come in, and and I normally normally up most days. I'm up at 2 a.m. in the morning every day for work. So when you guys said you were talking about Zelda, mate, like not last week, last week, and I was like, yes, yes, and then yeah, I've had a bit of bad run the last month or so getting coming onto the podcast. It's been really irritating.
Well, did you have any
actually.
memories you wanted to share real quick? Your like top Ocarina of Time core memories?
I think I've said this before on the podcast. I consider Ocarina of Time the greatest game of all time. No, I'm one of those purists, but that's not just because of what the game is. It's more what the game, my memory brings. Like going to like a midnight launch. Getting the game at midnight with my father when I was like 7 years old, coming home and playing to like 2-3 in the morning before I had to go to bed with my dad. It's one of those memories where as a father and son to really sit down and do something we like together. And my father's one who introduced me to Zelda. So to me, that's why and not just that, is the game itself, the story, the going back as a kid and going forward, and like the different bosses and some of the weird characters and whimsical characters, and just those memories in general live on for me forever. And I'll still die on the hill that Ocarina of Time is well deserved being the greatest game of all time. Obviously, there's going to be other games that come out that are significantly graphically, storytelling, much more deeper, yada yada, all that stuff. But I think it's just more of nostalgia, and obviously what it brings to me is a memory that I can share for the rest of my life with my dad. Is probably why I glue to it as my favorite game, because of the memories and the nostalgia. So that's
great.
Yeah, just the characters. For me, the characters like the mask guy. Like you started seeing little characters here and there. Like just the whole mechanic where you start off in the Deku tree and stuff like that, and then when the game opens up, it like opens up. And back then, that was like, wow, this game is massive. Even though it's not. If you look at the map today, it's nothing. But like at the time, with the technology, Nintendo, when you see that talk to the owl and stuff like that, and then you finally go through and it opens up, it just like that wow factor at that, and then like all the little secrets like actually in the main overworld, you hit a tree, put a bomb down, go down, you get like all this stuff, and then like all the fetch quests, like when you do all the beans, like go back in time, you put the beans down, and then you go back in time or forward in time, and then it becomes like that, so you can get to like heart pieces.
Oh yeah, that's something
and then,
I
like,
forgot
there's
to
other
bring up. That was a cool use of the time travel mechanic. Good
Yeah,
call.
so like there's things like there's like things like that to help you get to like all the heart. The bit where I remember one of the heart pieces when you had to go to the get all the chickens. You have to go like get all the chickens and then but use the chicken one of the chickens to jump off the roof to try and fly
Yep.
and help you fly and glide to get to one of the heart pieces. Like just things like that, small things like that, mechanics like that, which nowadays is probably pretty standard like games like that now, like doing things like this or like other mechanics used to do things, but like at the time, like growing up in an era and just being wowed by it, it is obviously mainly nostalgia that does it, but the fact of the matter, nostalgia plays such a massive part in our memories, our hearts and stuff like that. Like I said, to me, I look at Zelda Ocarina of Time and I really hope Nintendo, if you're listening, Nintendo, you remake the game, right? Same story, same stuff, like the map layout, maybe it's all connected so it's not seamless rather than thingo because with the technology we have now, but just like keep everything the same, just probably up the maybe just redesign the bit of the textures, make it maybe just give it a bit of oomph, bit of love, that's what I want from a remake from Zelda, from the ground up. Keep the same story, the same sort of, you can add things obviously to the game, but I mean like just the essence of the game, the soul of the game, keep it, because that's what someone like me, I mean, I'll play it either way, but that's what I want, Anyway, that's sorry for the rant.
Well, trust me, you're not alone
Yeah.
on that. I see that sentiment all over the internet. So who knows? Maybe someday there will be a remake of Ocarina of Time that's more of a remake than the 3DS one was.
Oh, and real quick,
Yeah.
uh, Ocarina of Time and Nintendo in Australia did very, very well in 1998 in a year that was mostly dominated by PlayStation. Ocarina of Time was the 6th best-selling game in Australia that year.
And it released in November too. So.
My birthday.
Released in November. Number 7, a game I've never heard of before, but very popular, I guess. Croc, Legend of the Gobos.
Yep. That is also getting, I think, I could be wrong,
A re-release, isn't it?
but I think they announced that that's getting an HD remake
on PS5.
Yep, exactly. So I never played it either. That, funny enough, this is just the tangent episode. I randomly know a lot about that game. It started as a Yoshi game, and Nintendo eventually was like, nah, thanks, you guys. We don't like what you came up with. And they developed it into its own IP. But that was almost a Yoshi game.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. And you can see that, but I just think it's a very interesting, first off, it's like a Zelda title, like Croc Legend of the Gobos or Gobos. and I just think that it's a very not the stereotype, but a very Australian sounding title. Like it sounds like a game that you would play, in Australia. That's all.
Down under.
That's it. Yeah, it's a game about a crocodile. I don't know.
I think, to be honest, in the 90s, around that time when Zelda first came out, I think Nintendo still had a very strong stronghold down in Australia at that time. I mean, obviously the PlayStation came out, it took the world by storm, with the disc and all that stuff, right? But when Zelda dropped, I remember going to school, and I think for ages before even talking about PlayStation stuff, but everyone talked about Zelda, oh, this, did you see this? Did you do this? Back then, obviously the game's more linear. Everyone's going to pretty much have the same, do the same thing in a sense, except for any of the fetch quests and stuff Nintendo never told you about. Right. But still to this day, Nintendo or even Zelda itself, you look at all the games afterwards, people still Breath of the Wild, even, Tears of the Kingdom, people still talk about over PlayStation might have the greatest game of all time. Yet when it comes to Zelda, people will still talk about it. And to me, Nintendo and Zelda and even in our country, my country here, has such a strong pull, even now, it still has a strong pull. So, yeah, I'm really happy that Nintendo does well down here in Australia. Plus, back then, it was very hard for us to get Nintendo as well. Like games took ages to get to Australia. Like America will get it, Europe will get it, and then Australia had to wait a little bit longer for things. In those days, so the anticipation was, when people were already playing it over the world, and we still have to wait, was one of the hardest things I had to live with.
Well,
back
now
then.
everyone wants to be on the Australian eShop. Like every
Yeah.
year, people make that joke. Like, oh, I picked up the new NBA 2K. I made my trip over to Australia. Ha ha ha. Like I made my trip over to New Zealand, or like because
Yeah.
they're always the first ones. And then like where I am, I'm just a few hours behind you. So like I have a few memories of like picking up games like a few hours before some other people and having that feeling. So
Yeah. You'll never know my feelings having to wait in the 90s for games, months and months for cartridges to come to Australia.
All right, and now the news. So, Super Mario RPG Remake. We're getting some more details on this game as it gets closer to its release, and I really liked this news story that was making the rounds. So, the official site revealed that there's going to be an option in the game to toggle between the remake music and the original Super Nintendo music for each area.
Ooh.
And I really wish the Link's Awakening remake did this, because there were a few areas in the game I preferred the Game Boy music. So I don't know. Is this something you guys like? I think this should be a feature going forward on all the remakes.
this is just Nintendo giving us extra features that we don't necessarily need but are nice, which they should be doing all the time. Like you remember a few weeks ago, like when we did F-Zero, and we were talking about like the disc drive version and how it's like Nintendo could just give us that port, but they don't.
Oh yeah,
Like things like that, or like the new the Tomb Raider remake
yeah.
is
You could
coming out,
toggle the
and
visuals.
you can
Yep.
and you can toggle the visuals, and of course that's not Nintendo IP, but just for example. So this is something that is great, but at the same time, it's like I feel like sometimes we give Nintendo credit for doing things they should already be doing, and sorry if that's a little bit too cynical.
Yep. No, like I said, this should have been in the Link's Awakening remake, because I think they went a little too far in some of the music on that game, and it's not close as close as I'd like to the original music. And I don't know. I remember when I was playing that, doing a lot of looking up the original music on YouTube, because I was like, this isn't right. I need to hear the right one. Next up.
Oh wait, and
Dragon Quest.
and I'm sorry, and also they announced GameStop will be doing a 6-piece pin set if you get if you do the pre-order.
That's right. I didn't write that down.
So I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know, Kevin, are you gonna be picking up any merchandise for this game?
I'm not. As much as I'm gonna love this game, I tweeted this week that I think I might end up playing this game just in a continuous loop for months. It's going to be one of those games just based on the fact that, like, when I saw the music announcement in the video, just watching them toggle in the menu and just hearing like the menu sound effects, I was like, oh, that feels like home. Like I just need this game. So like, I'll probably end up playing this game in a continuous loop. But as far as merchandise goes, if they put out an amiibo, I'll definitely get an amiibo. But the buttons, they look nice. I just have nothing to put them on. If I had like a backpack that I took to work or something, I'd get them. But not for me, but I'm glad they're out there.
Yeah.
The Amiibo should be
Amiibo
yeah,
should already happen. I'm like, where are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then next up, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, which if you don't know what that is, it's like the they did one for Final Fantasy 3 as well. It's like they do like a little like Super Mario 3D World version of these older games. So the development, it's progressing quite steadily, according to the developers. Like I said before, the current version of Dragon Quest 3 is on my like backlog list. So I've heard it's one of the best in the series. It's like the Final Fantasy VI of Dragon Quest games, apparently. It's on my Switch, the original. Well, not the original, but this is like the third version of the game, because there
Right.
was the original NES version. Then they touched it up for something that I think was only released in Japan. I think it was on the Wonder Swan or something. And then they made the one that you can get right now on the eShop, which is like, it's like the visuals are touched up, and there's some quality of life improvements and stuff like that. And now they're making this HD version. So I don't think I'll be playing this one. I think I'll be playing the one I currently have, but it's nice that it's happening. I'm sure there's people out there who are excited for it if it's making the news rounds. But yeah, the creator says, "Don't worry guys, it's coming," basically.
Yeah, it's like they announced it back in 2021, so it's been over 2 years, and it's like it's progressing, but that's it. Like that's pretty much all that.
It's like, at this point, which is coming first, this or 12?
Well, and
Because
that,
that's
that was the other thing. It's like, and they had nothing. They had, and the person they interviewed had nothing to say on Dragon Quest 12. And also, they just released the demo this week of Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, which I really want to play because I've wanted an excuse to get into this series. I've never played any of these games, or game. I don't even know. But anyway, so much Dragon Quest. Like, they're doing so much with the series right now.
And then next up, the news story that's on everybody's
Whew.
Twitter account right now.
Whew.
This, I think it's almost a non-story, but there was
Oh
some
no.
Microsoft leaks this week.
Oh yeah.
This is not a non-story.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I'm cutting you off, but keep going.
Okay. Phil Spencer said in these leaks he's been actively trying to acquire Nintendo, says it would be a career moment. This reminded me of, I believe it was in the Wii U era, but it could have been older than that. I should have looked that up for this podcast. There was another time that Microsoft tried to acquire Nintendo, and the story is basically Nintendo took the meeting and basically laughed them out of the room, saying we're not for sale. So yeah, Nintendo's not for sale. They're not going to get it, especially at a time when they have the most successful system they've ever had. And it's funny because this news report, apparently Phil Spencer was saying that Nintendo needs to learn that their place is not in the hardware business. And it's like, well, the Switch is still selling a crazy amount, and it's a 7-year-old system. They're doing fine in the hardware business.
I I think the future is Microsoft being by far the number one Western partner for Nintendo, even to the point where I could
Yeah.
see Game Pass or something exactly like it coming to a Nintendo system. Like
Mhm.
so much there, but oh my god, like it's never good if on like Twitter, social media, people are saying this is the largest leak in your company's history, because that just means that you work for a company that leaks a lot of things. And
That's funny.
this leak is crazy. Like, I didn't think this FTC case was going to get any crazier, but Microsoft themselves on accident uploaded these documents and then had them take them down, even though they were leaked already. And I mean, like okay, like, yes, there was the Nintendo email, but I mean, talking about one or two new systems, one or two diskless systems in 2024, a hybrid console in 2028, um, th- a new game and two remakes of a game, one of which is an exclusive to Xbox, um, new new equipment, new controllers. I mean, there there was so much in this leak that I was just amazed by it. and it all
And it's funny because a lot of that stuff to me is more interesting than the Nintendo thing, and that's all anyone seems to want to talk about is, oh, they want to buy Nintendo, and it's like, well, it's never going to happen, so stop
yeah
talking about it. Like,
I think. Do you think that maybe yes? Because the email is from what 2020, yeah, if I remember correctly, right? But remember, you got to remember, yeah, in 2021, Nintendo and Xbox joined forces for that, survive together campaign for a bit, yeah.
yep.
And then since then, Nintendo and Microsoft have been very good with each other. So I mean, you can look at it from yes, he was probably overthinking and like we got all this money and stuff like this and stuff like that. I like Xbox as well. I mean, I'm an Xbox player as well. But like, I feel maybe, he was being maybe a little bit too much on the like, you can buy Nintendo. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think from those emails came the partnership that they have now. How they've been very good with each other for the last since 2021. Don't you think their partnership's been very good, especially much better than Sony and Nintendo or Sony and Microsoft?
Oh yeah,
actually, just Nintendo and Xbox have been very good, and they've been, sharing IP or this or helping out and stuff like this. So
well, they had an announcement a few months ago
yeah.
about how going forward they're going to be working together on like simultaneously releasing Call of Duty games. I don't know if you remember that news story.
Right.
Yeah. But there's one thing about that new controller. I don't really like the two-tone of the new controller, but one of the features, if you looked at it, is that if you pick it up, it automatically wakes up. I like some of the features in the new controller. I mean, but the thing is, granted, these controllers and the Xbox could be in development. I know this is a Nintendo show, but I'm just saying on that leak that after this leak, there's a likely chance there could be slight changes to it. It might be too far down the line to make changes. You know what I mean? Down the pipeline manufacturing. But I'll be very upset if I was Phil Spencer about this leak happening, and they did it themselves, which makes it even more worse. That's the worst thing about it is that they did it to themselves. It'd be bad enough if someone insider or someone leaked it, but the fact of the matter, an official employee leaked, put it on the wrong site instead of the private, put it on the public site. That guy's fired, mate. Whoever that was, guy or girl, they're gone, mate.
Well, Sony had a lot of leaks as well. You remember that Sony had those big email leaks that were really detrimental to the Spider-Man franchise, where they basically admitted in those emails, we don't know what we're doing with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was right before Marvel took him.
So I have to bring up one email because I've read one of these emails at least 10 times in the past 24 hours. And I have to share it with the listeners and you guys because Phil Spencer was sharing emails with this man. I believe it's John Emil Ilian. He is an inventor, makes patents for Microsoft, and it was in regards to studio closures and how systems like Xbox Game Pass don't necessarily support these studios when they close down. And Phil Spencer brings up that it's not necessarily about the profits of games. It's more about either the lack of leadership or leadership leaving or studios losing their passion in a project. But in the email that this man John Emil sent out, where he states his concern with all of this, I need to read this short paragraph. This is not armchair quarterbacking. I swear. I'm just super worried about the moat you've built. That the winds will change and we will have a bloodbath a few years down the road, especially given our peer cloud companies' underestimating of the game creation process. But by the grace of God, go we. And I couldn't imagine working with someone that has emailing tendencies like this. I would just be emailing them back saying just make your point, man. Just
Yeah.
Just mean what you say. You don't need to use all this figurative language. Say
You're not getting paid by the word
Yeah,
for this email.
like because I don't know. Like, this is a big pet peeve of mine. I just I don't know, but I would be telling him, like, just, hey man, say like what we're doing now is something I'm concerned about for the future because of this reason, and I think it's setting a bad precedent. But instead, and then Phil responds back, and it's very transparent. It's very like, here's one example, and here's a company, and here's another example, and here's another company. Um, but I just had to share because I've read this email 10 times. I don't necessarily understand a lot of it, but I get the main point. But I just couldn't imagine working with someone like that. Um, this is a huge leak for Xbox. I mean, they're talking about a hybrid console in 2028. Um, I mean, going pretty much all digital or all cloud based. And this is going to set up, I think, the YouTube conspiracy theorists for weeks, months now, because
Well, they had a lot of bad ideas back when, I think it was the Xbox One. There was like
Oh yeah,
the first
2013,
yeah,
mate.
the first press conference where they said things like this won't be able you won't be able to play used games on the system and things like that. So they've got a history of
and then
some having to walk things back.
Yeah, and then Sony, in their press conference, said this is how we share games. He just hands the game to the other person, like the greatest like
what are you
comeback,
talking about? Yeah,
mic drop, like Xbox. Oh,
well, Sony
that
also
era
had
of
a
Xbox.
had a similar mic drop moment. If we're talking about video game announcement history, do you remember the one where the what system was it? Was it the Sega Saturn? I think it was the Sega Saturn, which was ridiculously priced at the time. And then Sony for their presentation just came out and said it's $199.99. Like they like they were like, our system's basically a third the price of yours. And that was their whole speech.
That's it. I remember that. Yeah, the guy walked out. He just said $199 and then walked off the stage.
Yep.
That was it. Oh yeah, Sony's. Yeah, the thing with Sony is that they like to go last on purpose, so they can react faster to if any news they can, like any news that, like, they've always gone last compared to Xbox. Xbox always goes first, and sorry, I got that wrong. Nintendo goes last because with the directs, but usually Xbox first and then Sony in the evening. So Sony has a chance to make any response if Xbox do something, and Sony tends to quickly, if they need to change something or something like that to match or do better, they have a tendency to do that. That's why you find that there's always a lot of mic drops for gaming stuff with Sony than there is with Xbox or Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo almost doesn't acknowledge the other two exist. They it's almost like they don't want to think they do the same thing. You know, it's like, well we make video games, they make entertainment systems, or however you want to phrase that. Like, they're Nintendo, I feel like they have this attitude that they're not even in the same game as those two.
Well, isn't that a sign of that? You can almost say it's a sign of arrogance as well from Nintendo. Like, back in the day, they competed. You remember Reggie used to come in. He used to come in as like, my name's Reggie. I take names. Yeah. Like, back then, they were really, really like that. But I think now, in some cases, I feel like Nintendo's kind of earned it, that arrogance, a little bit. I'm not saying they need to do it, but I don't mind them having a little bit of arrogance, because technically they're just like, hey, we're in our own lane. Because no matter what we do, we will still get the people coming to us. Nostalgia drives us. Young people drive us. Like how they market to their people. No matter what, you look at they have the most underpowered system compared to the other two. Yet they're still doing, for 7 years, 8 years, 7 years. They've had one console, except for the OLED refresh. Essentially, they've had the same console since 2017, and it's gangbusters. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you guys see the leak slide? It's called the the voice of the player, and it's an Xbox slide. There's 4 photos on it, and it's like reviews of like the new hardware. But if you read them, they look all like AI generated. So there's one in the second photo, it shows a woman playing on some handheld console. She's smiling really big, and then in quotations it says, Xbox has made buying my games digitally as easy and as affordable as discs. Plus, I can play those games on multiple devices I already own. I don't miss my disc drive at all, which is just very it's it's just it's the direction that we're heading in. um
Yeah, that's a topic for another podcast,
that's a
which we
much
should have one day, is digital versus physical. But yeah,
I'm all digital
yeah
these days. I'm just gonna tell you
yeah,
now.
me too.
It's been a long time
yeah
since I've
but
done physical.
I'm all digital, and yes, this is a bigger conversation, and this is also where I get into like, again, like I think this is where a lot of the news is going to come from, is because a lot of people are talking about the preservation of some of these games, where they might just kind of get lost, and it's pretty obvious that like, well, yeah, they just make a lot more money off selling these digital games as well. So
But the thing is, my argument with the digital versus physical is that why does digital have to be the same price as physical? You know, when physical they have to manufacture the CD, the
The
case,
servers,
everything like
the
that.
cost of running the
Yeah.
well,
website is
And
and
yeah, and I
keeping
get that,
the
but
storefront up.
yeah, and I get that as well. But I feel like I'm not saying it should be like much less expensive, like much less than a
Well,
physical, but at least
there's a lot to talk
it
about in
should
that.
be.
That's why I'm saying we
yeah.
should probably table that for
Well,
another podcast,
but they do
because I could talk for another hour.
they do incentivize
Yes.
digital sales, and the questions that you're bringing up is the exact reason why they're going in this direction. Exactly.
All right. So the last news story I have for this week before we get into our spotlight game wouldn't be another week if we didn't have some Switch 2 news, if you can call this news. Activision had a meeting with Nintendo president in December, and they are claiming the Switch 2 is similar in power to Xbox One and PS4. So not a big surprise there. That's actually, aside from those random stories of it looking like a PlayStation 5 last week, which we knew weren't going to be true, it seems to be what everyone expected. Be Nintendo to be one generation behind if they're going to keep the handheld technology going. You know, you got to be a generation behind if you want to shrink down what you're doing to walk around with it, you know? So, you know, the PlayStation 5 isn't that big because they want it to be. It's that big because right now with current technology, it has to be. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I honestly don't think you need much more with the type of games Nintendo makes than a PlayStation 4 power wise. So,
I don't.
sounded
Yeah,
good to me.
don't kid yourself, people. If PlayStation wasn't making really like strange decisions with their Wii U consoles, um, if PlayStation was made a portable PS4, it would sell ridiculously. I mean,
Oh,
I
for
would
sure.
buy
Yeah.
one.
I'd buy a PlayStation 3
Uh,
portable.
so so yeah, and then like this new Switch is supposed to have LCD, which just means like OLED will come sometime down the road, and
Exactly. We haven't even addressed that on the podcast. Is the rumors saying, "Oh, it's a downgrade because it's going to have an LCD screen," and I'm like, "That's just so 2 years in they can sell you a new one that has the OLED
yeah,
screen. They know what they're
I
doing."
I love my Switch OLED, but like my Steam Deck LCD is like, I don't know, like I never really think about it too much. Like I think
I've never played handheld. I've played handheld a handful of times.
yeah.
So
Well, OLED's great if you're like me and you only play handheld. But I think for me it
yes.
was more about like the bezels and like just the fact that it was more of like a stretched display, and there's a lot of new concept art with this the Switch 2. I've seen ones that look like a PSP Go, where like you slide it up. Like I've seen lots of different concepts of this new one. Oh, speaking of Activision, on the day of this recording is the 23rd anniversary of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which I which
Oh
I
yeah, I
think
saw
is
that.
pretty cool. One of my favorite games from, well,
Throw on some
yeah,
Superman or whatever track you listen to from that game.
yeah, exactly.
So, any thoughts, Harrison, on the next Switch? Or
Nothing. We'll have.
I mean, not
Oh,
Harrison,
go ahead.
Momo. Sorry, yeah, because Momo was quiet.
Yeah, I was listening. Rumors are rumors at the moment. It's, I mean, a lot of things have been leaking, and then during the FTC, remember during the Microsoft trial, that's actually when we first got the technically unofficial official leak that Nintendo 2 was in development, which everyone knew already, but we actually got an actual bit of information about it. It's hard to say that I've been thinking about it. I've just been thinking about if I want I think I kind of want a hybrid in the sense that still like the Switch where you can plug it into the dock and play it on the screen or take it with you. But at the same time, I kind of want like the old school home console with a bit of power to it, just give it a bit of oomph. But it's hard. It's hard for me to make a decision because either I'm happy with, but it's hard to, I don't know. But you know what? Knowing Nintendo, they're going to do something that's going to throw something in there that's going to be like they always do with a gimmick or something that's going to just throw a spanner in the works. They don't always think like literally what like people are looking for in consoles.
Well, speaking
they
of
have
them
to have some sort
doing
of
something,
yeah.
I feel like they need to announce something soon since all these leaks keep coming out. Like something big's going to get leaked before they want to. And it's
Didn't they say they had something in September, like announcement in September
well,
to do with
we're
hardware
20
months
days
ago?
into September, and at least as of the time we're recording this, nothing. And I'm starting to feel that way. I'm like, well, are you guys really going to wait until like midway through next year or the next direct, which wouldn't be until like December? It's really weird that they're with so many leaks that we basically know what to expect at this point. They're running out of things they're going to be able to announce for us other than what the system looks like and which rumors were actually true.
Isn't this week or next week the Tokyo Game Show
Yes.
happening?
Yep.
Could be there.
Yeah, I mean, is Nintendo? Well, I'm not saying they will, but who knows? Maybe Nintendo might drop something at the Tokyo Game Show. It's in their home court in Japan.
Well,
so
apparently,
know.
PAX East was the plan. Like there was a lot of speculation. Like they did show it. They did show it to a select group of media and people and developers. But like, there's a lot of speculation that PAX East was going to be where they. I think they at least announced like the project title.
The name or
Yeah,
something.
like the project name of it. So it could be soon, and it could be something that
Nintendo 65.
and it could be something that is not necessarily a Nintendo event. So yeah, I think sooner than later, but I it's gonna be really exciting. Like whenever it does happen, it's I don't know if it'll break the internet, but it's gonna be
I think it
it's gonna be such a
Yeah.
huge anticipation when it finally does happen.
Well, Nintendo need to read the room, and with all these leaks and stuff like that. They just need to like you said, they need to do something. I know they like to, like I said before, they like to run in their own lane, and there's that sense of arrogance they have about them. And this is one of those things where I said, so having that sort of arrogance or whatever is not good for them. You know, in like this is the type of thing they need to get in front of it. You know, even if I'm not saying do a presentation, but at least acknowledge and then say, hey, we have news coming about it in December or January or whatever.
That's what they did
at
with
least,
the Switch is they put out the code name NX or whatever it was. And we're like, everyone was like, what is this going to be? And we had like a solid couple of months of just wondering what the project was, you know?
But at least that was good because that gave us healthy, like they got in front of it and then had healthy debate or healthy theories about things. You know what I mean? And that was fine. I had no issue with that. This is different. Like we know the Switch, they can give the code name Switch 2 or even the name of the console itself. Like just drop the name or whatever and then give us and say, we'll talk about it in January, you know, and then give us between now and then just to speculate and let's give healthy theories, just generate information. I mean, they generate information automatically anyway, but I mean, like, they can really up their traffic in information, people really jumping on board, giving their 2 cents and really get into the gaming world and get a lot of information, especially during Christmas and stuff like that, having, you know, after they drop all their games and stuff like that, they have like, oh, hey, one more thing, just let you know, in January, we'll be dropping information on our new console. Bang. Have a good Christmas, guys.
Nintendo, you got to be careful. I mean, all these leaks going around. You never know. You never know when you're going to be in court, and then you upload the wrong documents. You just never know when something like that's going to happen. I mean, I can't tell you how many. I don't know.
In our spotlight game this week, we played Warioware Inc. Mega Micro Games, a very bad title, especially when you throw in the colon and the comma and the period that are all in there. In the exclamation point, good God. Oh, and a $sign. Man, they were just doing everything with the title of this game.
True. But it might not even be on my list of like top 10 bad Nintendo titles. Like it is a bit like Mega Micro is pretty funny though. I'm sorry, you keep going.
Well, you know, it fits with the theme of Wario being a lunatic, so he's gonna have a weird title. Came out March 21st, 2003 in Japan, May 26, 2003 North America. And the game contains 213 micro games split over 9 stages. This was not a game I played back in the day, so I don't have any nostalgia for it, but I had a lot of fun with it this week. I don't think it's one of the greatest games of all time, like its Wikipedia page says. Apparently it's been listed on a few lists of greatest games of all time. But I could see how at the time it would have been fun. You know what it reminded me of? I feel like between like 2003 and like 2006, there was a huge boom for those like brain games, where like they claimed that it helped your like problem solving and mental abilities, even though I don't think there was any actual science behind it. But there was all these like brain teaser games. It was a lot like that.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the game?
Well, so WarioWare outside of like smooth moves and outside of playing a little bit of the newest one, I never played any of the handheld WarioWare games, and it's just not it like WarioWare for me. It just I'd much prefer to play it in a social setting, and I would much prefer to play it like on the Wii, like something where you're actually doing the movements. So I must say that I think this is a great addition to the Switch Online service. If you were to have one of the games from this IP represented on the Switch Online service, and it is quite different than the other games that are provided. I mean, it's almost like it almost created its own subgenre in these micro games. So, and also there are 10 WarioWare games. You know that?
Yeah.
Like,
And how many Wario
It-
Land games?
like
Like
including
4. Come on, guys. Wario Land.
including WarioWare DIY, there have been, on average, one Wario game released every 2 years. On average, like sometimes they're released on back-to-back years. Like I think is it now? Wait, now? No. But anyways, like I look at that and hey, like if there is like an audience for a game like this where you can make 10 of these games and people are still buying them, which I can't understand, but okay. But you know, I'm not gonna knock other people's fun. I think games like I think IPs like Yoshi. I think those are games that should be releasing like every year, every other year. Like despite like not really liking games like Yoshi that much, I think there's definitely an audience for it.
It's very similar to Mario Party, which also has put out almost a game a year. It's like the same mini game concept. I wonder if that's just easier for them to churn out regularly.
Yeah,
Because I imagine they must reuse a lot of the same mini games, just like the Mario Party series does.
I mean, I would imagine, but again, I would not know. Like, I had a good time playing it this week, but
I like that there was a Virtual Boy
Yes.
reference in one of the games. That was
yes,
cool.
that's cool. There's tons of
I like anytime Nintendo doesn't try to make us forget.
yeah, there's tons of retro references in this. So, I mean, I think it's a cool game. Like the soundtrack is cool. The cutscenes are great. Jimmy T has always been one of my favorites. I always thought that he was super cool. It's just not really a style of game that I would go back to. I just think that it's a good. I just think that it's a good contrast, a good addition. Momo, did you play this game or have you played this game?
I got a bit of a confession to make. I've never played a WarioWare game before.
I mean, I've only played 2. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think I've played a Wario Land. Like I've played that, but a WarioWare game, like the mini game ones, I don't think I've ever played. This game I haven't. I've seen it, but I don't think I've ever played it. I have no memory of it. It's just I don't know. I've never really got into. I've never really been fond of the character Wario. Like when I was younger, I never really, didn't really care much for him. I mean, these days, like I got nothing against him, but I've never found him as a character that I've always, like if I played like Mario Kart or Mario Party or something, I've never really wanted picked him or never really been on my list of just like playing him in any form. Unfortunately, I played Wario Land. I think back in the day, but the WarioWare stuff, I've never touched it. I was just looking up before the game you're looking at, and I was looking at don't really remember. To be honest, I don't think I've ever played it. So, it's one of those, it's one of those things I've never really. I thought I would have played one game by now, like since I like Mario Party. I love Mario Party. I love the mini games. But I've never touched one, and it's never. I don't know if it's because of the character Wario. It never really interested me.
No.
Don't hate me, people. I'm not saying he's a bad character. It's not you guys. I'm saying just the people listening. Don't hate me. But I've just never found him interesting enough to play his games or anything to do with him.
Well, Sean did send in his thoughts, even though he's not here tonight, so I can read those.
Yeah.
He said, it's fun for a while, makes me miss the NES remix series. Can't believe...
That's a good series.
Yeah, can't believe it's the Wario main series. A few games feel like a variation on the same jump over this premise. So yeah, you are jumping over a lot of things. No, he says, no idea how you win the airbag game, but I nailed it every time. Love that there's a mini game from Mario Clash on Virtual Boy. Yep, that's what I said. Glad I played it, but one WarioWare is enough for me, he said. Good call on the NES Remix series, Sean, who's not here. For those of you who don't know, that was a thing that came out on the Wii U and the 3DS.
Yes.
Where they basically took classic NES games and like gave you like 30-second sections of the game to like complete an objective. It was a lot like this.
Yeah, it was very randomized, and it was very random as well, which was really good.
Yeah, there would be like Excite Bike, and then you'd get switched over to like Ice Climber, and then Pinball, and then there'd be like a Legend of Zelda section, and like it was a lot like this, but with different games instead of Wario the whole time.
Yeah, really good comparison. This game was, as you said, very highly acclaimed. This game was also another Famitsu Platinum winner. This was Ocarina of Time received the perfect score, 40 out of 40. This game was 35 out of 40. You have to receive 35 out of 40 for the Platinum Award. So very highly acclaimed. I think people found this to be fairly innovative for when it came out.
That's exactly what GameSpot said. GameSpot called it the most innovative, gave it the award for most innovative game that year.
Well, there we go. I mean, so you have to consider when it came out, and I guess 2003. I mean, I can't remember if I was playing Advance. I was playing lots of Animal Crossing, I know, but I can't remember about what GBA games I was playing at the time. It wasn't this.
Yeah, the Game Boy Advance might end up going down as my least played Nintendo system. Obviously, Virtual Boy aside, because there's only 14 games for it total. Because the more we do this segment, I'm like, well, there's like 5 games on the GBA that I love out of its entire library. So, yeah. The Game Boy Advance, I don't know if I was playing it much at the time either, is basically what I was saying in response to what you were saying. Like, I know I played the first Advance Wars game. That might be the first game I got. And played Golden Sun, like I've said. I played the Mario Kart. I played Minish Cap for Zelda. And not a whole lot else.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I had one. I didn't play a lot. One of the first games I remember getting was the first Harry Potter game.
Oh, they had those NES classics.
Yeah.
I played a few of those back when that was basically like the virtual console of its time, is you'd get the NES classics for the Game Boy Advance. Yeah,
I just remember playing Harry Potter. I remember playing Mario Kart. I remember there's a few other games, but it wasn't. I don't have really strong memories of playing a lot of the Game Boy Advance, unfortunately.
Yeah, the DS might be to the GBA what the Switch was to the Wii U for me, because I played a lot of DS. So,
yeah, I played a lot of 3DS. When 3DS came out, I played a lot of 3DS.
So my ranking here, I put WarioWare. Where did I put WarioWare? I'm looking for it here. I put it at number 14 on my list. So that puts it right below Kirby's Dream Land, the original Game Boy Kirby's Dream Land game, and right above the Sega Genesis Castlevania Bloodlines. Not a big fan of that Castlevania game. I like a lot. I think we said it when we did that episode. I prefer Super Castlevania. So, yeah, it's in between those two at number 14.
Need to get Sean back on here so I can talk to him about Castlevania and Contra and all these other games.
I'm sure he'll be here next week. He's just had a string of... He fell asleep last week, is what he told me. That's why he missed the what do you call it, the Nintendo Direct episode. But he ranked it in here. He put it below Super Mario Advance 2 Super Mario World, and he put it above Sega Genesis Golden Axe 2.
Oh, interesting.
So number 21 on his list.
I put it, and if you can help me, I'm gonna put it at 23, below Golden Axe. So for me, it's gonna be 23. Right above it is Golden Axe 2, and right below that is Donkey Kong Jr. So I don't really have much else to say besides that. Besides, like, again, this is not a game that I am ever planning to go back to, but it's worth trying out because this is also a game that you can try out for a few minutes. like you can,
exactly. You could play this for literally 2 minutes and know if you want to play the rest or not.
Yeah, or this might be a good. It is like the online system, but this might be a good like road trip game, or like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to I don't want to insult people who like the series, but like, it seems like a good game to play if you're bored and you're like whatever, like you're in a whatever mood. But I digress.
If you have thoughts on the game, send them to us. We got an email, you know that. So it's nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. Let's find out what we're playing next week. I just finished Kirby Star Allies, and it randomly selected Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. So another Nintendo 64.
Interesting.
A rare side-scrolling Nintendo 64 game. We talked about how the system needed more of those. It's going to be interesting to compare the two since I just finished Star Allies. It's fresh in my mind. I feel like there's going to be a lot of similarities.
We're going to run out of N64 games.
Visually, it's very similar as well. Like the aesthetic is very similar.
Oh yeah, and Kirby is constantly recycling that main Kirby theme.
Yeah.
All right, so that sounds like it's our show for the week. If you would like to send us your backlog, we'll read it on here. Let us know what you have to finish to go into the next Nintendo system fresh, or if you've got some Ocarina of Time thoughts, you want to talk about the music in Mario RPG. What else did we talk about this week? Switch 2, the Microsoft leaks. Got any of that news? Let us know. Send us an email at nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. We are also on X at Nintendo Therapy, and we've got our Nintendo Therapy on Reddit. So just contact us there. As always, keep in mind that we are Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So if there's anything we messed up, let us know about that too. And leave a comment below if you're listening on Spotify. Oh, I always forget to say this one. Leave us a review. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, that helps the show up when people search Nintendo Podcast. If people are leaving a lot of fresh reviews, it helps the algorithm display our podcast. So leave us a review and people will find us. And if people find us, we'll keep doing the show for years to come. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Harrison and Momo, for being here. And we'll see you all next week.
Have a good one, guys.